How do your knees feel in your yoga practice?
I get asked so often about knee pain. While I did a previous video about knee pain in postures such as pigeon, I also get asked about knee pain occurring in postures like bow pose, dancer pose, low lunge, these postures where we tend to have to bring our knee into extreme flexion, and where we often use a hand to pull that knee deeper into that flexion. Now, while knee pain, like any other pain, is very individual and can be caused by lots of different issues, one common cause of a feeling of pulling in the kneecap whenever we go into flexion of the knee is because the quads tend to get quite tight and our hamstrings are very weak. And it's very common for us in the Western modern world to spend many hours sitting down all day, and then we bring that seated posture into our yoga practice. And then to compound that, we do so much in traditional yoga asana that lengthens the hamstrings and does a lot to strengthen the quads, which is great for building strength to protect our knee. However, a very common cue in yoga is to not let your knee go beyond the ankle in positions such as lunges and chair pose, which is especially strange. May I just remind you that if you were to climb the stairs or perhaps climb up on top of something to change a light bulb or get something off the top shelf, your knee passes over your ankle. If you watch athletes in any sport, they're doing things that involve bringing the knees over the ankle. So what happens when we're in our yoga classes and we're made to feel fearful of bringing our knee over our ankle, where we're in a position where we can actually build strength, and then we go into positions where we're passively pulling our leg into a deeper stretch, then we have no strength there. Your quad, these big muscles at the front of your thigh, they're strong and quite happy in this position. However, perhaps bringing the leg behind you, which means you're going to start to get some other hip flexor muscles involved, and then bringing more flexion to your knee, which means you're lengthening out those quads even more than what they're used to, together with those notorious hamstrings, which are in so many people very weak. It means that the tendons at the bottom of your quads that connects to your knee pull on your kneecap. So, what to do about it? There are 3 things that I advise you do slightly differently in your yoga practice. The first is in any postures where you are reaching back for that foot to bring it in, instead, do it without your hands. So low lunge postures, just pull that foot in to your butt. Keep the foot flexed, because at first you'll feel it. You're going to feel your hamstring working like it's never worked before. You're going to feel your quads stretching out in new ways as well. And it may cramp the hamstring at first before you get used to it. No worries. Keep that foot flexed. Just go as far as you can where it feels good. With time, you'll build strength. You won't get the cramp. You can point the toe. So low lunge postures, dancer pose, whichever variation of dancer pose you want to do, bow pose. The second thing you can do is start to train the strength that you've got in your quads with your knee stacked over your ankle. Train it to go a little bit deeper so you can bring your knee beyond your ankle in your lunging postures. Like always, start small with what you can do where it feels good and feels strong. And as you build that strength and that mobility, you can go deeper and deeper. I also really like to change up the chair pose, and occasionally instead of that, do what's called a sissy squat, where you keep your torso straight, just bend your knees. You can start small, where it's manageable, where you can still come back up with control. With time, though, you may be able to go all the way down. The third thing is to work on the strength of your hamstrings. As I mentioned, the problem is not just in the quads, but also because we tend to have very weak hamstrings. So Some of my favorite positions for that is in a reverse tabletop, for example. Don't just chill out here. See if you can slide your foot underneath. You can play around with just trying to get that knee into full flexion. Flexion is just where your knee bends, while you're bringing your hip into extension. You might get some hamstring cramps while your hamstrings are learning to work in new ways, but the way we avoid this knee pain when we go to full knee flexion is not only to make the quads happy, but to get the hamstrings doing some of that work as well. They work together, and through their collaboration, your knees will be happier. I hope that helps. Let me know in the comments how you get on with that.